In my video on Volume 1, I brought up an underdog problem, but not everyone got it, so I can explain it in more detail. The point I made is based on setup and payoff, a fundamental skill in storytelling. Jabari being a musician can be a setup for the payoff of him struggling as a soldier. Jabari being an athlete can be a setup for the payoff of him succeeding as a soldier. What the story chose was probably the worst option. His musical setup has no payoff, and his athletic payoff has no setup. Jabari being a musician isn't necessary and adds confusion. It's the reason he got accepted into the school, but you'd get the same result if he was just a gifted athlete. Jabari being a musician seemed like it was building up to him struggling to succeed as a hound, since he's in the wrong field. Him being a musician creates confusion as to why he's physically elite, but if he was an athlete, it would make sense. Him being a musician is why he's surprised that he's recruited as a hound, but you'd get the same result if he was an athlete. You could argue that his music connection is why he has sound-based powers, but that's not necessary, because it could have been explained in two different ways, without me changing much. 1. He had hearing aids in his flashback, so that connects to sound. 2. He's often seen with headphones, so he could just love music, which connects back to sound. Being a musician played no role in his combat. In short, if Jabari was just an athlete that had hearing aids and loved music, the story would have been better because it wouldn't have wasted a setup. As it stands, by the end of Volume 1, Jabari being a musical prodigy was irrelevant and confusing. My underdog suggestion was a rewrite that made the plot point relevant. The other possibility is to just remove it and make him an athlete. Another thing I didn't verbally say, but I should get ahead of, is I'm not a Cory fan. I know very little about him, and I can't say I've ever watched any of his videos outside of the manga announcement. Gaming content just isn't my style, so I'm not biased towards or against him as a person. Furthermore, just because he's a fellow American manga artist doesn't mean I'm gonna softball my analysis. I might not be as harsh as I would to a professional paid Japanese manga artist, but I am going to be honest and consistent with my research of good storytelling. Now, Volume 2. I'll start with the magic. I saw some people complaining about the lack of creativity in the magic. Respectfully, they don't know what they're talking about. The powers here don't always have the most creative ideas, but their execution is very creative. If you've seen my videos on magic systems, you know that execution outweighs ideas. The timing of all these explanations are great. They provide answers after the audience is already curious. My favorite is the 5 types exposition. The explanation happens during a fight scene, displaying all of them. It's reminiscent of Naruto's bell test. The fights have plenty of reversals and solid strategies, no complaints here. Now, philosophical debates. Chapter 10 has a debate about whether it's right to kill leakers, who are technically humans. It's Jabari versus his team. Chapter 14 has a debate between Sep and Wraith about pain and trauma. In Chapter 15, there's a debate about how power should be used. It's Sep versus the team. Then Jabari and the coach have a debate about choices in life. Jabari and Fane have a debate about worthiness. I love philosophical debates. The only problem here is that these are just debates and not quite themes yet. There are no events or actions in the climax that prove one side right over the other. I have videos covering themes and explaining them in more detail. That's a spot for improvement. Now, fight lore. If you've seen my video on fight lore, you know how important it is. Chapter 11 was very clever because it planted the seeds for a 3-way rivalry. Jabari, Fane, and Wraith. Naruto's Chunin exam also built up a complex rivalry web, but not this quickly. Jabari vs Pain was built up excellently. They first have their beef in the meeting, then they have a short skirmish before the ball game. In Chapter 15, Jabari and Fane have the same type of tuning that increases their lore. Then Jabari gets a crash course from his coach and asks him what are his chances of winning against him. Then he gets help and advice from his team. And finally, at the end of the volume, they face off. Jabari's victory would mean that the hero overcame the bully with the help of his friends. It's an epic fight and Jabari wins the game, but then they fight for real. Jabari loses and Liam steps in to avenge him. That's how the volume ends and it's hype. As for other fight lores, in Chapter 13, Wraith is given a reason to hate Han right before their fight. Wraith was hyped up as a top dog, while Han was set up as the weak link, especially in the meeting. If Han can win, it'll be an underdog victory. Now they have lore. Then Han getting beaten gives September a personal reason to fight. Sep lost to Ren, and then Ali avenged her. Jabari lost to Fane, and then Liam was about to avenge him. Fight lore can be as simple as vengeance. Now character development. We get character development for a lot of people. Jabari, Wraith, and September are the main ones. Some flashbacks, some values, and even Jabari's dream of writing a song. Jabari also learns to ask for help, reducing his ego from Volume 1. The main character does a great job of standing up for his values, especially in the last chapter. He's becoming a worthy battle manga protagonist. I love the team meeting scene because it was so efficient. By skipping forward and flashing back to the skipped events, the story was able to establish the tangible possibility of death, several new characters, rivalries, and character values. You might call that rushing. I call it efficient. I saw people complaining that Volume 2 rushed into a tournament arc. I'm so glad I read it myself because they all lied. A tournament has a single elimination bracket. There is no bracket here, and there's only single elimination of individual members. If this is a tournament, then so is MHA's battle trial, license exam, and basically any exercise or combat test. So is Black Clover's Seabed arc. So is JJK's Goodwill event. None of these are tournaments. If you're curious why this matters to me, I have a beef with tournaments. They offer a lot of positives, but also a lot of negatives. Lastly, Jabari's goal being to make a song doesn't change anything I said about the musician stuff. If he was an athlete who loved music, there'd be no issues. Overall, is a massive step up. It's good. Most of the issues I mentioned in Volume 1 are gone. It shows proficiency in writing fights on multiple levels. It has some solid character development, and it dipped its toes into writing themes. The main area of improvement is completing the themes with a proof event. If the writers learn to fuse theme, character, and plot, like pro movies and elite battle arcs, it could become unstoppable. The writing is becoming professional, and I actually like the story more than some recent anime and manga in the 2020s. If you know, you know. The dialogue and comedy are also getting better. In conclusion, Monsters We Make Volume 2 is good, and I don't mean good for an indie manga. I mean good period. If you think I'm chilling because he's a fellow mangaka, go back and watch my videos. Here are some playlists I recommend. Yume's Best Writing Lessons, Story Theory Extra, What Are the Themes, Screenwriter Arc, Magic Systems, and Battle Manga Essentials. Subscribe for more academic writing videos to improve your analysis and writing. This part is for my fans. If there was a timeline where One Piece didn't exist, and Cory's indie manga was the first 3 volumes of One Piece as we know it, people would probably be calling it bland and generic as they are with Monsters We Make. You can replace One Piece with any great battle manga from the 2000s. The reason people are saying this is because they are influenced by other factors like feelings, popularity, and consensus. But if you have a consistent way of grading stories based on research, you can be consistent and be immune to those factors that get in the way of valuable analysis.